everyone. Welcome to the National Museum of Singapore. I am Hui Sam.
And I'm Swee Kee, and we are going to bring you on a virtual tour of the Singapore History Gallery. You will get to learn more about Singapore and its past through some old objects, or what we call artifacts, in the museum.
For this tour, we will be talking about Singapore during its post-independence years.
We will find out more about how Singapore created a new identity for itself as an independent nation and built up a defense force to protect itself from enemies and to ensure that we continue to have peace and security.
Do you know when Singapore gained her independence? Did everyone get the answers right? Yes, Singapore gained her independence in 1965, the year our new nation was born. When Singapore became independent, we had to create new symbols and an identity for ourselves to tell people in other countries who we are. This is similar to going to a new school and wearing our name tags so that our teachers and classmates will know our names and who we are. In 1966, Singapore held its first registration exercise where Singapore citizens were issued their first identity card and Singapore passport that are on display here. What symbols of Singapore can you see on the passport cover and identity card? We can see the state crest of Singapore. The state crest has a shield with a white crescent moon and 5 stars. Supporting the shield are a lion on the left and a tiger on the right. It is completed with a banner at the bottom with the words Majula Singapura. I received my identity card when I was 12 years old. These days, the children receive their identity cards when they turn 15. What about you? To the seniors among us, when did you first receive your identity card and passport? How did you feel when you first received your identity card or passport? To the children, does anyone have your own passport yet? Show us a thumbs up if you do. If you or your family members have your own passport or identity card, bring them out, compare them to see how they are similar or different to the ones we used in the past.
Besides the identity card and passport, Singapore also issued its first currency in 1967. This was the orchid series. Do you see the orchid flowers on the notes? Yes, that's why this series of currency notes is named the orchid series. Orchids were chosen as Singapore was well known for growing and selling orchids to other countries at that time. Orchids are still being exported by Singapore today. In 1981, the Vanda Miss Joaquim became our national flower. Did you know that Singapore is the only country to have a hybrid as her national flower? Official money or currency is important for a new country like Singapore because it allows us to trade or buy and sell things with other countries. For example, when you go to Australia, you will have to exchange our Singapore dollars for Australian dollars so that you can buy things in Australia. Likewise, when other people come to Singapore, they will need to exchange their country's money with our Singapore dollars in order to buy things here. Having our own currency is an important symbol of our national identity, as it tells people of the world that we are Singapore. Do any of our seniors recall using this series of currency notes. Do you still have it? Bring out a $2 and $5 currency note that you use today. How are they different? Did you know that there are also places of interest featured on the back of these notes, such as the Istana and Singapore River? The reverse side of the $1 note from the Orchid series also shows HDB flats of the 1970s that were newly introduced to Singapore at the time. What is your favorite place of interest in Singapore today?
Now that we have seen some of the ways that Singapore forged an identity for herself as a new nation, let us now move on to see how Singapore built her defense force to survive as an independent nation and to ensure our continued peace and security.
We will now show you some objects and artifacts related to national service. Can anybody guess the year the Singapore government made it compulsory for 18-year-old male Singaporeans to serve in the army? Did anyone say 1967? Yes, that was the year when all 18-year-olds were called up for national service.
To our younger ones, when someone is called up for national service, it means he's going to be a soldier in our Singapore Army.
Let's take a look at some of the artifacts here. There is a dark green army uniform, which consists of a cap, shirt, belt, trousers, and a pair of black boots. Commonly known as Temasek Green, this uniform was the first to be issued by the Singapore Armed Forces, or the Singapore Army. It was worn by full-time national servicemen until 1979, when the color was replaced by a darker green. I wore this uniform when I was serving my national service in 1970, and I can tell you it was very uncomfortable. The uniform was made of thick cotton, and in a hot Singapore climate, you can sweat yourself dry when you have to wear this uniform, especially in a field exercise. But it also makes us look smart in it, especially if it was well starched and ironed. In fact, when we wore the uniform when returning to camp, some of us would avoid sitting down in order not to crumple or crease it. Can anyone guess why the color green is often chosen for army uniforms? This is so that soldiers can camouflage themselves among the leaves and trees to avoid detection by the enemy.
This particular set of uniform on display here belongs to Mr. William O. He was among the first 9,000 men called up for national service in 1967.
This was just one set of uniform issued to him upon his enlistment. Can anyone describe what you see on this object on display? Look at its shape, numbers, and patterns. This medal was given to the first batch of national servicemen in 1967. A few subsequent batches of national servicemen also received the National Service Medal. The medals were usually presented by the Member of Parliament of the area during the National Service send-off dinners organized by the Community Centre.
Does anyone recognize this? Have you used or received a similar postcard before? This is a postcard that was given to all National Service recruits or soldiers to write to their families, as they had to stay in the camps and were not able to go home for a period of time. This postcard belongs to Mr. William O. He sent this postcard to his father 2 days after his enlistment at the Pasir Laba camp. Has any one of you written a postcard to someone before? Who do you write to? And why do you need to write a postcard? Share your stories with us. To all our young friends, do you think Grandpa or Grandma would be happy to receive a postcard? Would you like to try writing one to them?
In this tour, we have seen some of the artifacts from the post-independence period, from the national identity card to our Singapore passport, as well as currency notes. These were all issued as a way for Singapore to recognize its own people and to make its identity known to the world. We also saw how Singapore builds its own defense force.
For the seniors, we hope this tour has brought back some memories for you. For the children, we hope this gives you an idea of what Singapore was like when she first started out as a new nation. You can always ask your parents or grandparents to share more stories about the past with you.
We've come to the end of today's tour, and we hope you enjoyed the tour as much as we have bringing it to you. And we also hope to see you at the museum soon. Till then,
Bye.
bye.